Nick sends out Zapdos, the opponent pivots out into Mewtwo, the opponent farms up, allowing us to reach the Brave Bird. The question is, does the opponent respect the damage? Brave Bird forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and we pivot out into the Mewtwo mirror. The opponent easily has enough for the Shadow Ball. Nick, with 2 Protect Shields, calls the bait. This is now going to allow Nick to shield up the next incoming psystrike. And the problem is, you can't shield all the nukes, Nick. Running Legacy Hyper Beam, and the opponent's about to get vanquished. Back to the Pokeball. Well, welcome back to their channel. Today, finally, the Master League Premier Cup is back. And I'll be honest, in my humble opinion, I probably have one of the most stacked Shadow rosters anywhere. So today's question of the day is going to be, which Shadow Pokemon would you like to see me feature? If none of the Pokemon seen on the screen tickle your fancy, I've got around 750,000 Stardust, which means we can power up one further Mon. The Mon I currently have an XL Candy to power up for the Master League are going to be Ampharos, Charizard, Alolan Golem or Kanto Golem. However, that's going to be a further video, so let's get into today's video. My good friend and fellow content creator, the Black Luffy 92, known to me as Nick, the absolute Spice Lord when it comes to Master League, is sending us some content with the 2 one-shot kings. We've got a double legacy Shadow Mewtwo, not running Shadow Ball, running Hyper Beam, and we've got Galarian Zapdos on its twin nuke moveset. I don't think we need to say anything further than that. So without any further ado, let's get into the battle. And in game 1, we see Mewtwo into Zacian. The opponent clearly running 2 nukes, are looking to double up on charges. Nick takes the initiative, full sends the Hyper Beam. Get that Zacian out of here. There's the first big boom in the video. The opponent sends out Landorus. We pivot into Lugia, drawing out Mamoswine. Holy, this one's going to be a fun one. Lugia is insanely thick, despite Avalanche being one of the very best moves in the game. It's actually a Psystrike clone. Lugia easily able to withstand the damage. Nick farms up to the Aeroblast baits with the Sky Attack, forcing that Protect Shield. The opponent wisely throw. Before we reach the second Sky Attack, Lugia has done its job. Nick can send out Zapdos. Zapdos can easily shield once farm all the way down, and it's time to start nuking. Zapdos, unlike Lugia, not that bulky. Avalanche certainly would do a lot of damage. The opponent sends out Landorus again. Nick full sends the Brave Bird. Brave Bird! Oof, goes shielded. Nick then makes a very nice Sancia Storm catch. Back onto Mewtwo. Mewtwo, even in its shadow form, able to withstand one. Nick then farms up, fires off the Psystrike. Psystrike unfortunately won't knock out from this range, but will put the opponent quite low because Shadow Mewtwo hits like a truck. It looks like the opponent has Rage Quit the app. No, what the heck was that? The opponent given a lifeline. However, let's be honest. Even though the opponent has been given a third shield, this is still GG. Zapdos tanks the Stone Edge like an absolute boss. Nick playing it risky. We're forced to shield up the incoming Sancia Storm. We just need to be careful of the opponent making that catch. They try their luck. Zapdos gets the farm down, reaches the close combat, and despite being resisted, that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Oh man, this is going to be tough to keep it together for this video. In the next battle, we see Shadow Mewtwo into Dialga. Not fantastic, as both Psystrike and Hyper Beam are going to be resisted. However, the opponent doesn't know our moveset. Nick farms up and makes a very nice Iron Head catch onto Lugia. Lugia, very bulky. You can see Iron Head doesn't do all that much damage. The opponent then answers our Lugia save switch with Xerneas. This is also not fantastic, as our Dragon Tails are double resisted and essentially doing absolutely nothing. The opponent can even tank an Aeroblast. Unfortunately, one isn't going to knock out Nick regardless. Full sends the nuke. Aeroblast rocks the opponent deep into the red, but unfortunately, we just aren't going to be able to farm down. With that in mind, we see the instant no-shield deployed. Lugia has done its job, and Nick elects to let it go down. I imagine we send in Mewtwo. No, we're actually sending in Zapdos. Zapdos looking for the resisted counter farm down. We see the instant no-shield deployed. That must mean it's a close combat. Holy crap. It was a Moonblast, and Nick is going to concede the match. You can't win them all. Heading into the next battle, we lead our shiny Shadow Mewtwo into Zacian. Please one-shot another one. Please. This opponent also running Quick Attack. A lot of Quick Attack Zacians do run the double debuffing move, so like to farm up to the back-to-back. Nick full sends the Hyper Beam. 2 for 2. Get that Zacian out of here. The opponent sends out the basic bitch tin can, and we see the instant pivot into Lugia. Origin Dialga doesn't have to worry about debuffing itself, so the opponent can just go straight Roar time. But Lugia just does not care. Easily able to withstand the damage and reach the Aeroblast. Aeroblast forces the Protect Shield. The opponent is going to get a very nice Dragon Breath farm down. We've got one very good answer for this Dialga in the form of our Zapdos. Nick waits out his clock, sends out Zapdos. We see the opponent pivot out into Mewtwo. The opponent farms up, allows us to reach the Brave Bird. Does the opponent respect the damage? Brave Bird forces the final Protect Shield, and we see Nick enter the Mewtwo mirror. We see the instant no shield deployed. The opponent easily has enough for the Shadow Ball. Nick's huge Go-Owners call the bait. This is going to allow him to shield up the next psystrike, and we're going to boom him with the Hyper Beam. If the opponent don't know about that Hyper Beam coverage, they're about to find out. Get that Mewtwo off my screen. Dialga comes back out. Dragon Breath farms down. However, Zapdos is going to come in, counter farm all the way down, and Nick is going to pick up the dub. What a win. Nick just went straight nukes the entire battle. That was fun. Heading into the next battle. We lead our shiny Shadow Mewtwo into Ho-Oh. Are we going to see another big one-shot in the lead? No one is respecting this Hyper Beam. Nick farms up. Come on, full send it. We reach the Hyper Beam bait with the psystrike. Calling the opponent is likely going to shield. No, the opponent actually didn't shield. But Nick does make a very nice catch. Catching the Sacred Fire onto Lugia. Lugia tanks that like an absolute boss. And the opponent clearly has no great response for Lugia as they send out Palkia. Nick fires off the Sky Attack. Sky Attack forces a Protect Shield. The opponent is going to have to dump energy. These Dragon Tails are tearing them apart. The opponent's counting absolutely on point. Fire off the Aqua Tail just before we reach the second Sky Attack. Once again, Nick says, Lugia, thank you very much for your contribution. Just takes his shield advantage. Nick now sends out Zapdos. We see him respect the potential Spatial Rend. The opponent bait with the Aqua Tail. That is going to allow them to reach one further Aqua Tail. So I guess in hindsight, the safer play is double Aqua Tail, guaranteeing some sort of chip damage. The opponent then sends out Tapu Bulu. You know what time it is, Nick. Full sends the Brave Bird. Does the opponent respect the damage? Brave Bird! No, goes shielded. Nick likewise going to invest his final Protect Shield, knowing these Bullet Seeds are going to do absolutely nothing due to our fly-in typing. Nick able to outpace to the next Brave Bird, and it's time to get that Tapu Bulu off my screen. We're then going to see Nick spamming the switch, looking to pivot back out into his Mewtwo. Mewtwo has enough residual energy to outpace the psystrike, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. I'm not even sure at this stage who's landed more booms. Is it Mewtwo? Is it Zapdos? I don't know. But what I do know is this is a lot of fun. We see another Ho-Oh in the lead. The last one didn't respect a potential Hyper Beam. Nick actually this time not even building up to the Hyper Beam, just looking to get off some chip damage. The opponent this time shield up the psystrike. And again we see Nick save Mewtwo and make the catch onto Lugia. The last opponent didn't have a great answer for our Lugia save switch when they led Ho-Oh, and it looks like this opponent also doesn't have a response as they're happy to stay in. Again, we see Nick not interested in shielding up Lugia. We tank the next Sacred Fire. Nick commits the Aeroblast, but unfortunately doesn't make it. Nick then sends back up Mewtwo, throws two Psycho Cuts and the Psystrike for optimal fast move timing. The Psystrike isn't lethal, which allows us one further Psycho Cut without taking any damage. The opponent then sends out Zygarde. My god, do I hate this Pokemon. It is so annoying and so bulky. Psystrike forces the final Protect Shield, and we see the pivot into Zapdos. As we got two Protect Shields, it looks like the opponent's just going to go straight Crunch all the way. The opponent banks a boatload of energy and then send out Lugia. My god, this opponent must really like having fun, running probably the bulkiest team you could possibly run. You can see back-to-back Brave Birds don't knock out Lugia. Lugia able to Dragon Tail farm down, and unfortunately Nick is going to concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we lead Mewtwo into another Ho-Oh. Holy cow, Ho-Oh lead looking very common around the 3000 ELO range. Nick fires off 7 Psycho Cuts and the Psystrike for optimal fast move timing. Of course, ideally you'd like to throw 2 or 7. Nick again, as always, makes the catch onto Lugia. Nick is essentially using his Lugia as the 3rd and 4th shield. The opponent then sends out Dialga. Nick looking to reach the Aeroblast. The opponent going to fire off the Iron Head before we get there. Can Lugia survive? No, that's a Thunder. The opponent is the one this time catching us out with a surprise nuke. Although Thunder isn't really a nuke from Dialga, but did knock us out when I was expecting us to survive. Nick now sends out Zapdos. Zapdos going to be looking for the 1 shield counter farm all the way down. Iron Head Thunder. Interesting moveset from the opponent. I think even if you haven't got Roar of Time, you probably want Draco, but what do I know? The opponent then sends out Palkia. I imagine as they didn't have Roar of Time on that, this one certainly will have Spatial Ram, but Nick able to land the Brave Bird, near one-shot in Palkia, but then go for the wham, bam, combo play, pivot out into Mewtwo, looking for the snipe. The opponent actually then invests the Protect Shield regardless. Nick then fires off the next side strike on the CMP tie, putting them into perfect farm down range. Nick just happy to let Mewtwo go down. We can send out Zapdos. Zapdos, despite hitting for resisted, is going to be able to counter farm down. We leave with yet another Brave Bird, and despite Palkia being at like 10 HP, the Brave Bird is very necessary. GG's, and thanks for playing. You can see there the real difference in some stat products. Lugia able to tank 2 Brave Birds really easily, whereas Palkia almost got one shot by a single one. In the next battle, we see Mewtwo into Kyogre. I know Nick's going to throw out Discipline Timing. 2-turn into 3-turn, that's 1, 4 or 7, so Nick opts for 7 Psycho Cuts and the psystrike. The opponent shows no respect, and Nick then, as always, makes the catch onto his damage sponge Lugia. On this channel, I'm much more used to shoutcasting glassy shadow Pokemon. I cannot get over how bulky Lugia is. That Surf did almost nothing. The opponent answers our Lugia save switch with Dialga. Another Dialga running Thunder, but Lugia again shows its bulk, able to withstand the damage and reach the Aeroblast. Aeroblast goes unshielded and despite being resisted, does a very solid chunk of chip damage. After landing the Aeroblast, we should be able to send out a Zapdos counter farm down before the opponent even reaches a charge move, which we get. And Zapdos now has a very nice running start. The opponent sends out Landorus. Nick just continuing to farm up, not wanting to lower his own defense. As without lowering our defense, we do tank a Stone Edge. The opponent then pivots back out into Kyogre. Nick goes straight for the close combat. Close combat forced to protection, but Nick is doubled up. This one will either force the final protection or of course knockout as the opponent's incredibly low. We then see Nick pivot out into Mewtwo, and this is just game over. The opponent lightly shield the first one as it will do the most damage, and then they're going to try and spam us with Sancia Storms. It looks like the opponent just recognised there was nothing they could do. They tanked the charge move, and that is going to be all she wrote. Heading into their next battle, we see Mewtwo into Palkia. Palkia insanely glassy, so there's no real need to full send a Hyper Beam. Nick attempts to CMP tie to a potential Aqua Tail, but the opponent not falling for any of that nonsense. The opponent tanks the damage, but then see the pivot into Lugia, looking for the snipe, once again drawing out Xerneas. Even in a matchup where our quick move is double resisted, Lugia, due to its huge bulk, just puts in so much work. You can see Moonblast isn't going to two-shot us. The last opponent did chip us, and I think this opponent also should have, as they're going to be forced to throw 2 further charge moves to knock us out. We're in the yellow, but Lugia doesn't care about any Moonblast. Nick able to withstand the damage and return fire with the Sky Attack. The opponent unwilling to shield Xerneas, and Nick has now flipped switch. The opponent sends out Landorus. Landorus not going to be able to mud shot, farm us down. Lugia is very deep in the red, but I wouldn't be surprised if we actually survive a double resisted Sancia Storm. We do survive. Lugia putting in so much work, able to reach a Sky Attack, forcing a Protect Shield as well. Lugia, you absolute monster. Nick now sends out Zapdos. We've got 2 Protect Shields, 2 High Bomb. It looks like Nick looking to call the bait. The opponent bait with the double resisted Sancia Storm, and they're now in so much trouble. We've hit the Brave Bird. Even a Stone Edge won't knock us out from this range. Again, the opponent throw yet another Sancia Storm. Zapdos returns fire with the Brave Bird. Even lowered by 2 stages. Still secures the knockout. And Nick is going to pick up the 2 shield flex. Very well played. Heading into the next battle, we see Zacian in the lead. Nick has one shot. Back-to-back Zacian leads with the Hyper Beam. This opponent, unlike the others, isn't looking to double up on charge moves. They throw the Wild Charge, which does lower their defense by 2 stages. This time it's the opponent that makes a very nice catch, catching the side strike onto Lugia. Side strike essentially heals the opponent, but Nick, undeterred, gonna full send the Hyper Beam. Please let it go, please. Hyper Beam, to my surprise, does force the Protect Shield. I've got no idea why the opponent shielded Lugia. I think people that use Lugia usually use it as a damage sponge. Even if he was running Shadow Ball, Shadow Ball wouldn't have knocked out from that range. Nick banks some energy and then enters the Lugia Mirror. As Lugia is insanely bulky, Nick not messing around, just going to YOLO the Aeroblast. Aeroblast does secure the knockout back out. Comes Zacian. We know the opponent's got Wild Charge. Nick just looking to force the energy and get the opponent to lower their own defense. Wild Charge does secure the knockout. We send back out Mewtwo. Mewtwo this time able to land the psystrike onto Zacian, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Zacian going to be unable to quick attack farm us down. We're actually going to see Nick invest the Protect Shield here. We shield at the next wild charge. Nick banks the psystrike. We then see the Simul swap of Lugia into Dialga, but Dialga, the basic bitch tin can, is going to be straight in and straight out. Close combat, going to be massive overkill. Nick able to reach the next close combat. The opponent does throw a charge move. We've got the psystrike banked. Wild charge secures the knockout. No! Why didn't we get our move off? Nick, given one turn, bring in. However, we're going to chalk that one up as a win. I think the opponent played very well, but we had that game in the bag as Mewtwo does not lose CMP to any stupid Zacian. In the next battle, we see Mewtwo into Landorus. Nick looks like he's looking to fake it till he makes it, at least building up to a potential Ice Beam before throwing the psystrike. The opponent probably shield as everyone shields their Landorus. No way, the opponent, to my surprise, don't shield the first one, but Mewtwo and Landorus pace at the same speed. And again, Mewtwo will be winning that CMP tie. The opponent makes a very nice catch, catching the psystrike onto their own Mewtwo, and then we answer with Lugia. Again, we see Nick bank the psystrike before pivoting out, recognising that Mewtwo, if the game works correctly, usually wins CMP. The opponent makes a very strange play of attempting to bait Lugia. They throw yet another psystrike. Whatever your second move is, unless they're on Focus Blast, of course, I'd recommend throwing that. Nick, not interested in finding out what this Mewtwo's second move is, knocks it out with the Sky Attack. The opponent then sends out Dialga. Nick full sends the Aero Blast, forcing a Protect Shield. The opponent commits to the aggressive Dragon Breath farm down, and they've got so much energy. Nick now sends out Zapdos. Nick not even interested in shielding the opponent, fire off the Iron Head, which does a solid amount of chip damage, to be honest. Nick finally going to invest the Protect Shield. We've got two, we may as well use them. Both the opponent's Pokemon insanely low. With that in mind, Nick fires off the Close Combat. Close Combat forces the Protect Shield, then pivot into Mewtwo. It looks like again we've lost CMP. What is going on with this game? But regardless, this is going to be GG's, and Nick is going to be able to counter farm down everything, and we're going to take that game. Unfortunately, heading into the final battle of the video, we see Mewtwo into Primarina, a nonsense tap-tap Charmer. So when facing Charmers, it's paramount to throw out good timing. When using a 2-turn move, that is 1, 4 or 7, and of course Nick throws 7 Psycho Cuts as he never throws like a potato. The opponent shields the Psystrike, then pivot out into Hisuian Avalugg. Nick fires off the Psystrike lands, and we see the pivot into Zapdos. We see Nick instantly no shield, knowing he tanks any one move, and there's no point in shielding as we know they've got a toxic Charmer. Zapdos gets the counter farm down, able to reach the Brave Bird. Does the opponent respect the damage? A debuff Brave Bird still almost one-shots Primarina, and Nick now sends out Lugia. Finally, we see Nick invest the protection on Lugia in the final battle. He shields up the disarming voice, and the opponent sends out Palkia. Palkia not going to appreciate this Dragon Tail damage. Nick farms up to the Aero Blast, baits with the Sky Attack. Speaking of baiting, the opponent throws the Aqua Tail, which does absolutely nothing. The opponent actually no-shield the Sky Attack, but at this stage now, they're essentially going to get Dragon Tail farm down. The opponent fires off yet another Aqua Tail, which doesn't get the job done. Lugia gets the Dragon Tail farm down, and we're going to take that game. Huge shout out to Nick. As I said, fellow content creator. His channel is going to be linked down below. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.